Shar Watson, Shar Watson, Shar Watson.
Dominate. 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 I'm talking domination.
Welcome. This is the Prodigal Son podcast, and we're back with episode 23. I'm your host, Vincent Warren, and we got my young dog, my co-host.
Man. Back, part 2.
We can be found on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and of course, if you want to see the visual, follow us on YouTube. And today we got a special edition. I call this the marriage and family edition. And what best to talk about marriage and family is my mother and my father. Mother dearest and Daddy Kane.
Silly.
You feel me? Well, I had y'all all individually before. We talked about little stuff. Lives, marriage, individually. But now I want to talk collectively.
Okay.
And see how stuff was collectively, and you guys have such a big family. I know I'm included. Mm-hmm. And you see he's a branch off the family. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to just give the viewers marriage and family. Just that simple. Okay? Is that cool?
Yeah.
But, I always give my flowers first. You know I love y'all. My mom called me today, was like, you know what? Pooh, I really missed you.
I do.
For one, she don't never come over. I've been in my house 3 years, she ain't never been over.
Don't air my dirty laundry.
But I do miss you too, Ma. You know I love you.
Yes. But we see each other all the time, though.
Even though you never answer the phone.
But we see each other all the time, though. Come on. Tell that. Like,
no.
We see each other
no.
enough.
You never answer the phone, but it's cool.
I work.
You feel me?
I'm working.
But you know I love you.
I know. Honey.
You feel me?
Yes.
We've been best friends for quite some time.
Yes, we have. And best friends always understand, right?
For sure.
Yes, they do.
And we got this sucker duck right here.
Oh.
I talk to him every day. It switches from not talking to him all now talk to him every day.
Yeah.
And I got this joke thing. He's like, man, whenever I don't talk to you, that means you must got some money. I'm like, bro, what? Like, who says that?
People try to hide when they got money and not be normal and usual conversation.
Man.
So I got to check on you.
So the funny thing is, what was I doing earlier? I was getting a haircut. He called me once. I'm like, I'll call later. He called me back. I'm like, bro, what do you want? You feel me?
You guys are funny.
Well, dude, I appreciate you coming up. Good. Love you too. Love you too, man. And we're going to get it rolling.
Okay. Yeah, I cancel sessions to be here.
Hey, well, when I call, this is important to me. And shout out to your people that you had. I hope they got everything good, but this is more important right now.
Don't tell them that.
So, all right, now let's get started. You guys got married, or you guys been married for how long?
36 years.
36. Okay. Out of that 36 years, how many kids?
7.
Plus the bonus.
Plus 1.
Okay. What's one of the things that you can tell someone, just starting off, what's one of the things that you can tell someone about, because you guys got married young.
Right.
Yeah.
Was it, like, collectively, was it a tough getting married young, or, like, I got married when I was 32? 32, yeah. I got married, what, 19?
19. I was 19.
I was 18, a month before my 19th birthday.
How was that?
Hard. Difficult.
So we grew up in a culture, in a system, I would call it, where getting married young was the right thing to do. Unfortunately, but fortunately, we grew up in a church culture where we've seen people get married young. I don't know if 19, 18, but certainly 21, 22. We was taught at the time, if you don't date too long, if you date too long, you could possibly get yourself and you have a family without being married. The living together and the shacking up and stuff like that, that was a no-no in our world when we were coming along, our generation. So getting married was something that we both wanted to do. At the time, Cindy had a couple opportunities to get married. A couple people just wanted to marry her.
Oh, I'm about to get.
But
I'm about to stop the bus.
On the end, brown skin was in at the time.
Oh.
Hey, I'm gonna tell y'all something crazy though.
Brown skin was in.
Oh my God!
I'm gonna tell you,
so embarrassed.
I'm gonna tell y'all
Stop
something
it.
crazy. I think I told you, Mom. At my job.
Don't mention no names.
I'm not gonna mention no names, but at my job, I seen this guy, and my coworker told me his name. I'm thinking like, man, he looked familiar. I don't like, man. Faces is everything. I don't know. I'm not good with names, but I know faces. So I'm like, man, his face looked familiar. And then I asked my coworker like, what's his name? He told me his name. I'm thinking like, man, his face looks so familiar. But he told me his last name. I know him. He was like, oh, that's so-and-so brother. I'm thinking like, oh, okay. And then I called you. I'm like, Mom, so-and-so? Oh, yeah, he tried to marry me. He don't like your dad. And my petty self
Well,
did
your
what up
dad
to
don't
him.
like him either, so let's make it fair.
It's not personal. That was back then. It's not personal.
Ugh.
Back when we were younger, we had, because we got, it was one of them things where, who gets the girl, it's always a little something behind that. You know what I mean? That's what it was about.
Listen,
I told this man,
yeah,
when I went and told this man, like, hey, Cindy Warren, he looked like, yeah. I'm like, I'm her son. He like, man. I'm like, gosh, should I give him a 2-piece? I don't want to lose my job, but I come on, like, yeah, he tried to play it off her. Like, if it's, he had a problem with me. I'm like, no, you had a problem with him.
But young again. Remember, it was everything was the culture. Everything was, my grandparents have been married for years. My parents have been married for years, and we grew up in a system of religion or church where marriage, getting married was the thing to do, the right thing to do, and there's a lot of dynamics that go along with it as we got into marriage and how we didn't know a lot, we didn't learn a lot. We made tons of mistakes, but the culture was that we get married young, we have children young, so that we can grow with our children versus, getting married older and our kids be older. You see what I'm saying? Whereas young families, there's a lot of young families in church when we were coming up.
Listen. The way it happened was he was in the military, and his father said that I was getting engaged to someone else and that he should come home and, I guess, rectify the situation. So he came to my house and he asked me, he says, I'm not ready to get married, but when I am ready, will you marry? I want to marry you. So will you wait for me? I was kind of like stuck. Like, what? Like, how do you say that? You know what I mean?
So it wasn't traditional.
I was oblivious
No,
to that.
listen to this.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know nothing about that ever happening
away.
before. I've never heard of it happening before, but I also didn't really know how to respond to that. But I was already committed to your dad. I wasn't going to break off one relationship to go do another
committed.
one.
So, but I'm talking about.
Committed.
Did they do the
Straight up committed?
Did they do the one knee, get down on one knee thing?
No.
So neither of them. He didn't do it either.
No, he didn't either. He did talk to Papa and asked him, could I marry him? So that was very, very traditional. We all grew up in the church. We all knew each other. We all knew each other's parents. And so it was.
Some. Well, I was the guy who went to the church that other people had left, and my family name, which carried, everybody knew my grandparents and things like that. And when they mentioned my grandparents' last name, that's the grandson. So it was like, most people tried to play me like a sucker until they figured out who I was, and I was deep rooted, like they was deep rooted in me. They came from a large family of 18 children.
Jesus.
You see what I'm saying? Like I'm a sucker. I wasn't no sucker, bro. I was deep rooted in that thing, bro.
Oh my God, change the subject.
So would y'all say that it was pressures for y'all to get married
No.
at a younger age? No pressure?
No pressure.
No pressure. My mom actually didn't want me to get married for a whole year.
Yeah.
She begged. She was like, "Just give me one more year. Just give me one more year."
So looking back, what would y'all have done differently, if anything?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I went to the military, came home, got married, and started having kids right away. Probably would have maybe waited until we was a little more stable financially before we begin to having children, because again, when you have children and you don't have a path, or you haven't made a plan how to care for them, that causes stress on any relationship.
But I heard a saying that said, "Are you ever really ready?"
I think I would have preferred to, looking back, given it a year, then I probably would have learned a lot more than being married. And when I say that, I mean because he was gone in the military. And he really hadn't seen life. So life had just smacked him in the face. And like, oh my God, this is life? This is what it is outside the church walls?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, again, though I grew up in the church, though you grew up in the church, you always have that, that the life of you know both worlds. Though I grew up in the church, but again, everybody in my family was in church, folks.
Mm-hmm.
You follow me? So I had both worlds. So I had the world of understanding what street life was, and also understanding what the church was too. So it was very unique. But what I will say to answer the question is that the stressors of young marriages are very real, and without true education and true training and true guidance on how to be a wife or how to be a husband, that's where we have so many separations, so many divorces among young marriages.
So I heard this saying. I was listening to this lady named Dr. Bryant. She's a marriage and family and all the other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But she said people are so infatuated with the wedding instead of actually being a wife or a husband.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And when you think about it, a wedding is only a day, maybe 2 hours.
Right.
But a husband and a wife is for a lifetime, so supposedly.
Mm-hmm.
But they misunderstand that.
Living together and paying bills together and having a relationship is one thing. And some people opt to do that, and some people do well in doing that, but they have understanding, and they do things legally. Hey, if I pass away, I'm gonna give you all this, yada yada yada. But when you are married, and you have a covenant of marriage, it's a whole nother ballgame, because though you're, in one sense, you're giving yourself to that man, to that woman, but is it a covenant? Is it covenant? Though you're giving yourself to them, that's what I'm saying. You're giving yourself to that man and woman, but are you in covenant?
Meaning what?
Are you you're in relationship? Are you in covenant? So for the believer, you're in covenant.
Okay.
For the unbeliever, you just in a relationship.
Okay.
I feel like it's kind of the flip side of the question when you're talking about the wedding. I think society and culturally, especially with social media, it has made it almost like a competition. Who can have the biggest wedding? who can have the most birds flying around. You know, it used to be about the bride. Now the wedding focuses just as much on the groom as it does on the bride, and
Right.
it's and I think the whole context of what the wedding is supposed to stand for has been lost. And so I think it's more of a performance and a show. And instead of taking a lot of that money and maybe being debt free or buying a house, and they get into more debt, and then they go into the marriage struggling,
Right.
and then the marriage doesn't last 6 months.
So, well, that's going back to saying, what you think? A lot of time marriage goes in separate ways because of finance.
Oh,
That's
definitely,
absolutely,
definitely,
absolutely. It's money, sex,
hmm
children.
Yes, money, sex, and children.
That's it. Money, sex, and children.
It's funny that, I mean, that's one of the things that it came to me. Matter of fact, the other night, like, man, what is one of the questions I want to ask my parents about marriage? And one of the questions I wanted to ask is, in today's society, 50-50 is what they talk about. You feel me? They well, in today's society, it should be a wife pays 50 and a husband pays 50. What what do you guys are perception on that?
Well, my perception, if you're a Christian marriage, because cr- by the book, the Bible, it is supposed to be where the man provides for the woman and the woman cares for the home. Now, if your husband is out working and paying all the bills, by all means, you should be at home cleaning the house, cooking dinner, taking care of the kids if you have any. There shouldn't be anything that's not done necessarily unless you're sick or something. But secularly, they look at things different. They look at, well, you're working, I'm working, we're both bringing it to the table. But I'm seeing a turn in that most women now are realizing, I don't want to be that independent woman that have to get out here, stress on going to work every day, because our bodies were not made to be that way. We were not made up that way. We can't take on the stresses and pressures. That's why so many women are having heart attacks and anxiety attacks, and because we're taking on more than we were ever supposed to take on. Because of the feminist movement. And so I believe, this is me, that the man should take care of the family. But I also believe that if you see your husband struggling and you don't have children, that there's nothing wrong with you helping out. That's my point of view.
So, understanding, looking back to how it was in our generation, what we saw. Okay. So, two dynamics. And I'll go back to my grandmother. My grandmother had 18 children, 15 girls and 3 boys. My grandfather worked for Chrysler Corporation. My grandmother worked inside the home. My grandmother was a lady that made resources. She had to create resources. She had to shop at places and go to Lottie Da's and go to wholesale places to buy food. She created a culture in her home where she cared for her children while her husband went to work and still took care of her husband when he came home. Ironed his clothes, washed his clothes, took care of the kids. My grandmother, I don't know if my grandmother worked, if she worked a long time when she started having children at all. I'm not sure. My mother, my mom, and my dad, my mother came from that culture. My mother wanted to work. She didn't have to work. My father told her, either you stay home, take care of the kids, I'll take care of you. Or you go to work. You still have to maintain the home, the kids. My dad worked afternoons, and me. My dad took care of all the bills, cut the grass. She didn't have to do any of those things. Her sole responsibility was us and the home. All the other stuff she didn't have to worry about. I don't care when it comes to travel, when it comes to cars, when it comes, she done any of that. The culture there is not like, when you talk about 50-50, in my opinion, when you say 50-50, that means, honey, if I need you to cut the grass, you want to cut the grass. If I need you to do 50-50 means 50-50. And that culture, if a woman says I'm 50-50, now some women say, hey, you know what? I'm a woman. A woman don't do that. That's not what you said. You said 50-50. So are we going to separate the duties? What's 50-50? I cook, I clean, I wash. I do all that myself because my mother taught me how to do all that. But some men can't do that. Mm-hmm. You follow me? Mm-hmm. So how can it be 50-50? So what's the man going to do? Are you going to take care outside? I want to take care inside. We're going to split the bills in half, 50-50? So how do you define that? And then on the back end, if the woman gets sick because she's working, she's doing whatever, and she gets sick, is it 50-50? Or is it straight 100? Mm-hmm. You follow me? Because a woman is not meant to, in my opinion, if she wants to, because most women are very independent. I'm for that. My mother was an independent woman. I'm for independence. But in the same token, because you want to be independent, that's wonderful. If you start talking that 50-50 stuff and you get into it and you figure out it's too much for you, now you're going to have to change your tone later on because your body can't manage it. You can't take it. You follow me? It's too much because, oh, my God, I got to roll out of bed. Oh, my God, it's Tuesday. I got to be working. I got to meet. You follow me? Mm-hmm. So to me, I think it's two different perceptions. The young people today have the perception of the nice things. You got to work for that.
Mm-hmm. I know one thing that you have shared with me a couple months back when I was going through my thing. I think a lot of times before we get married, we don't have the conversation of what's expected.
Correct.
This is who I am.
Correct. This
is, as they say, these are my demons.
Correct.
This is what I struggle with.
Correct.
But then you don't see that stuff until you smacked it in the marriage. And then you're like, oh, no, I didn't notice this. I didn't know this. I'm out. If you would have had that conversation on both sides.
A real conversation.
Correct. He told me that. Right. So I mean, when I tell even one of my homies, he agreed with me. I just had a conversation when I was on my way here. We don't have those conversations.
Right.
Those conversations should be had before marriage.
Right. You can't, the young lady can't be pregnant and then you have a conversation. It's too late. You follow me? Now you in. So either you're going to marry or you're not going to marry, you're going to be a baby daddy. But in the same token, if you're a baby daddy, then there's no need for the conversation. Now the conversation is, are you going to help me maintain and take care of this child financially and be a parent, whether it's a man or a woman? You follow me? Mm-hmm. So the conversation when it comes to a relationship is, was you raised right? Was you abused? Did your parents fight? Did they drink? Were they alcoholics? Do you brush your teeth on Tuesday, on Thursday? Do you take a shower every day? Do you bathe Monday and Wednesday? Mm-hmm. You follow me? A real conversation, and that right there, I think, when you look at social media, and I'm a social media person, and women and men dress themselves up in one way, they look wonderful going out, but then when they get home and they take off all their hair and face and body and makeup and all that stuff, that they don't look the same. Who are you dating? Who are you marrying? Who is this person? You follow me? Mm-hmm. So that's the world we live in, though, and that's why so many divorces, so many things going on. In my opinion, it's like because you married a person you don't even know. Matter of fact, are you light skinned or brown skinned?
For sure.
You dig? I mean, because I saw one lady. She had a whole mask on and a wig and all. She was light skinned. Mm-hmm. She took all that. She was brown skinned, and she wasn't as appealing to the eye. Mm-hmm. So the question becomes, in real life, are we teaching and training our young men and women to really have the conversations? And I'm going to say this, our foundation is Christ. But in the same token, those who don't know Christ, I believe, could have a moral compass to have a conversation, a moral compass. Mm-hmm. You follow me? Because some people, they say, oh, here we go with that God Christ. But that's all we know. Mm-hmm. For some people that don't know God, let's have a moral conversation. Let's talk common sense. Let's talk common knowledge. You see what I'm saying? Because I think we at a point now where there's so many people getting married, and I was talking to one young lady. She's miserable being married. Well, why'd she get married? Oh, I was 39, and I just felt like it was time. Oh, okay. Did you know him? I've been dating him for about a year and a half, and he seemed okay. I said, oh, okay. Is he okay today? I don't know him. Yeah, it's like I'm a combat veteran. When you're a combat veteran, when you're going through the cycle of post-traumatic stress disorder, you trip it. And just say I married your mother, and she didn't know that I was a combat veteran, and I was having all the things that combat veterans have in combat, and she up in the middle like, oh, what's going on with you, bro? I'm good. Don't worry about it. Going back to sleep. And that happened for a long time, and I never had a conversation with her.
I see that, not even switching gears, but I see even that people that has foundation of Christ, they pick and choose when they want to put the Bible in.
Absolutely. They're people.
Like you said, we talking about financial. Now we going to the sex aspect.
Absolutely.
So in the Bible, the Bible says your body is hers, and her body is yours. So when the sex thing come, this is what I read. Whenever he wanted, he supposed to get it. Whenever she wanted, he supposed to get it. Mm-hmm. But typically now when you get married, they say when you get married, sex stops. You don't get as much. But when you single, you get it in an abundance.
Sex is never supposed to be a weapon. But many women, unfortunately, use it as a weapon. Mm-hmm. And it's never meant to be a weapon. It is intimacy, and it's to bring you guys closer. And women think that using it to weaponize someone is actually going to get them what they want. But if they had true wisdom, they would understand being intimate with my spouse and making them happy. I'm going to be happy.
Right.
Because people respond to their needs being met. If we would stop thinking about our own personal needs and focus on the needs of the other person, we won't need to think about ourselves. Mm-hmm. But this is such a me society. Everything is about me. We even go into the mirror saying, what can you do for me?
Right.
And it's not what you can do for me. It's what can I do for you? Mm-hmm. How can we build each other? How can we make life better?
That's what they ask. What do you bring to the table?
Right. Yeah, that's the question. I mean, again, my daughters, I would not have wanted my daughters to marry a person or a man that did not have at least a good job or a job. You follow me? Whereas if you don't show and educate and teach and guide young people, they'll choose who they're attracted to. And sometimes who you're attracted to is just not good for you. You see what I'm saying? Because again, I have nothing wrong with working at McDonald's. But if my daughter's an engineer, you think I want to marry with somebody working at McDonald's? Mm-hmm. No. And I'm not I am being biased. I take that. I am being biased. Absolutely. You know why? Because if they're the same age, you have to look at the reason why you're working at McDonald's. Are you the manager? Are you the general manager? Do you own it? Or are you on fries? You follow me? Mm-hmm. So it's one of them things where I'm a firm believer that you marry according to your heart, but according to how you want to live. Now, I'm talking about just for the average person. For the believer, you marry somebody that believes what you believe, have the same morals and standards and Christ's belief like you. Mm-hmm. That's me. That's my 2 cents. If you marry, there's no such thing of a man marrying a woman, a man who don't believe in God, marrying a woman who does.
But a lot of time I've seen that women marry or men marry for comfort. So they don't marry for love; they marry for comfort.
They're supposed to
They're supposed to do what?
marry for comfort.
How?
Hold on a second. Let me hold on a second. Men are supposed to marry for comfort. The woman is the helpmeet to the man. Yes or no? Is that biblical?
It is.
Okay, so when I say comfort, meaning the woman is supposed to build the man and make the man feel comfortable so that he can go out and do what he need to do to take care of his family. The man can't marry a woman who gives him hellacious hard time. How can he operate?
But love has to be first.
That's what I'm about to say. So it seemed like
Love.
The Bible says it.
This generation they're getting away from love.
Yes.
They're marrying for that greenback, that dinero.
Mm-hmm.
You feel me? And then you see when stuff
You
go
mean that
south.
love
that
or love?
munyon?
That munyon.
Is it love or lust?
That munyon.
Is it love or lust?
I mean,
But
it
the
got to
Bible
be
love.
love.
says the Bible says husbands love your wives.
Husbands love your wives.
Yeah, so you gotta.
I didn't say, honey, I didn't say that the husband wouldn't love his wife. He asked the question: is men get married for comfort? You are my comfort.
Okay,
Yeah,
it's
that
an
was the
aspect.
question. Yeah,
It's an aspect.
Of course,
It
he
is
didn't.
an
He didn't say that if
aspect.
I love your mother, but at the same token, over the 36 years, was I in love with her? No,
Well, no.
no.
Mm-hmm.
So you follow me, and what you in this
But
culture,
that goes in and out, right?
it go. So the culture you live in now, do they love, do they lust, or are they in love? If you in love, then leaving or packing your bag, your garbage bag, and going to take the trash out, and not coming back is not in the game.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You go through ups and downs. You go if you really love the person that you're with.
Mm-hmm. But when I say comfort, I mean it like women will marry just for the man got millions.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
of course.
Like they say, forget love.
true.
I'm not marrying for love. I'm marrying for comfort. I want the house. I want the Benz.
I want to get married for the benefit.
Do
I want
they
to get
cheat?
married for the benefit.
Do they cheat? Do they cheat in the?
But
in
nine
the
times- but
meantime?
look, nine-
Give 'em a chance. Give 'em a
Okay.
chance.
This is what I see.
Okay,
This
go ahead.
is what I see.
Go ahead.
Okay.
They live with the money,
Okay.
Yeah,
but they cheat with the bum.
you're probably
The
right.
bum love them like they
Comfort.
want to be loved, but they but they don't leave the money though.
No, of course not.
They don't leave them. They don't leave the money, but they just keep going back to the bum, and sometimes they bring the money to the bum.
But instead of staying in the house and trying to make your own marriage the way it should be and start to love the man and really pour into the man, then maybe that man will start to love you like you need to be loved.
Start to love the man.
Yes, because if he
I
said,
ain't marrying you if I don't love you.
well, hold on a minute. He said the woman will marry a man for
For
his
the
money,
of course.
but
of
go
course,
cheat on him with a bum.
of course. Who she love?
But the thing is, if she would put that time and energy and effort into who she married, then she probably would get the kind of love and affection and attention that she's looking for.
When you see women that have had money, women that have that's obtained and made money through the years, whether it's entertainment, whether it's modeling, whether it's clothes, whatever it is, very rare, if you look at any woman, very, very rare do you find a woman that have already have those things, marry somebody, and stay with them for a long time. Because if you come to the table with your own security, you're not marrying for security per se. You're marrying for love. You marry because you have an attraction to the person that you're marrying. when that attraction ends, whatever happens in the marriage, and the marriage gets real, now you're required to be a wife, or you're required to be what I need you to be. And if you're not in it because of that, that's where you see on every platform divorce.
And
Leaving.
also, I'm gonna say it like this, and this is probably a very popular proverb. Just like that green wall, people say, "Oh, the grass looks greener on the other side." But if you would take the time to water your own grass, it would be just as green. But we always want something we can't have. It always looks appealing. The excitement of the taboo.
Or the sexualization of life. Everything is sex.
Of course.
Everything is sexualized. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's a Coke commercial. It's sexualized.
Sex sells.
Sex sells. So if everything is sexualized and young men and young women see a life that's really not real, you know what I'm saying? This, the sexualization of life, and they say, "Oh man, maybe I want to marry somebody that look like that or to treat me like that," but they don't know what's happening behind the scenes. They don't know the person that's in those things could be a psycho, could be whatever the case may be. So the realness, I believe, just the realness of, again, I go back to educating, the training, and modeling of real marriages. And they talk about real issues, and young people and people in general can be transparent with people and talk about their issues. When couples come in to a place or live a life of fantasy and fakeness, they don't go far.
So, what do you think about the marriages that the role is completely flipped, where the woman is taking on the breadwinner and the male aspect, and the male is turning into like the female role that's supposed to be this housewife? Because the fact of the matter is that is growing in popularity right now. So, what do y'all think about that?
Well, I feel like this because at one time in our life, I had to take on that role. And I literally went to my dad and I talked to my dad about it because, I felt like he had a lot of wisdom and, I would listen to what he had to say. And he said, if you have a job and your spouse doesn't have a job at this point, and you guys are both in it for the good of the family, then you do what you need to do while he's looking for a job, while he's still pursuing a job. If he needs to stay home and take care of the kids, then he needs to do everything that a stay-at-home mother or wife would do. Feed the kids, make sure dinner is done, do the washing. But to say it as a long-term solution, I don't agree with it because I don't think that it's going to pan out the way that people want it to, because a man truly is meant to be the leader.
Do you think that could lead to the man losing the masculinity in the relationship and the relationship being torn because of it?
Most definitely. Now, there would be those exceptions. There's always the exceptions. But for the most part, whoever wins the money and works for the money is going to try to dictate where the money goes and how the money is spent.
Unless there's a clear understanding.
But I always say, if a house fails, who they gonna blame?
The man.
The man.
Because the man is
of course.
supposed to be the leader of the family.
But then
But
then they say if the kids are acting up outside the home, they gonna blame.
Well,
the
let's
wife.
talk about kids. Let's talk about, especially about grandparents raising kids nowadays.
Yeah, that was my next thing. That was my next thing. Finance.
So much that it's on insurance. You can put your grandkids on your insurance now.
Oh, you guys know. This is your ninth child.
That's my sweet baby right there.
So, like, even going back to what you said, one of the things that breaks up marriages is finance, sex. and
Children.
children.
Yes.
So how do you guys feel on raising 7 kids plus 1, 8, and then on top of that you got 5 grandkids?
Well, the plus 1, 8, didn't come until much later. Antoine was already here. Alicia was 16.
Mm-hmm.
And we definitely, you had Alicia on here, and we definitely had that conversation, and she had that conversation that I said I would never participate in any type of termination of a pregnancy. That would never be something I would participate in. But if that's what she decided to do, since her father was giving her the option, I said, I will be here to take care of you when you get back, but I won't participate in it.
Let me ask him that. So since that was then, I know at that time that was like upset because she was so young. Do you regret saying that now?
Wisdom and with time, with understanding how Antoine's turned out now, and if I had have pushed the button, and me, I'm an alpha male. I mean, I'm alpha male, and I was going to, at that time I wasn't a practicing Christian.
It's an understatement.
Yeah, I wasn't a practicing Christian at the time.
For sure.
So my thought process was, hey, we have children, and I need to make sure that you have the best chance of becoming great without any barriers, and having a child would be a barrier to your greatness. That's the way I saw it. Mind you, I mean, when Twan when she had Twan, I was a good job at the time, good job working. I was just working at the, good job working, and I was like, oh no, we ain't having this. And honestly, I had to consult with my mother, and my grandmother, because me and Cindy was at odds too about it. We there was no middle ground. She felt the way she felt, I felt the way I felt. And it wasn't, I went to the sources that could make me understand, first of all, Vincent, you're not a practicing Christian. That's the first thing. So you can't give nobody advice about nothing, because if you had that girl have an abortion, you going to hell, son.
I mean, I was literally, I told your dad, I said, if you choose to leave the family because she has the baby, then I'm willing to let that happen.
Well, I wasn't going nowhere.
But this is what he said. This is initially what he said. Well, if she don't, I'm leaving. I said, well, that's your choice.
Right.
But I'm never going to support
I had
that.
just came back. You know what I mean? And somehow, but
Not too long ago.
well,
It wasn't just.
I wouldn't just came, but coming back to the family from that non-Christian world,
The residue was still on you, huh?
right? He was still
Okay.
riding you back, So Lee was
His
like,
son would know, wouldn't he?
you know what I mean? So, again, Antoine, and raising grandchildren, to me, it's the saying where you raise your children, and how your grandchildren is raised mirrors how you raise your children. We raise our kids, and our kids are supposed to raise their children, and we're supposed to see the fruit of how we raised them through our grandchildren. Mm-hmm. That's the way I see it. Because we're hands-on grandparents, we have our grandkids 80% of the time, but in the same token, we share in that, and we understand the dynamic of, hey, we're going to stay neutral. Sometimes we're going to give you our opinion about A, B, C, D, and E, but it's your final decision. Mm-hmm. You follow me?
Mm-hmm.
So ask Antoine, what is his thoughts on this?
Honestly, I feel like me being here changed a lot of the dynamic of the family, especially when I came. My mom was still young, so I feel like I was born into more so y'all, and y'all raising me because my mom, like, she was still a kid, so guess you could say I'm another kid, like a bonus child. So I got to see both of the dynamics. Like, y'all kids are basically like my brothers and my sisters now. So.
I ain't your brother. Don't get it twisted, baby. Nigga, I got you about 20 years, nigga. I ain't one of them uncles, bro.
The younger half.
You about to bro me to death, bro.
He calls you Uncle VV.
No, for sure, but not Jeremiah EJ.
Well, because
They
they're
so close in
so
age.
close. He and Jeremiah are only, what, almost 3 years apart?
That's
No,
crazy.
not 4.
Jeremiah's 19. He's 15.
He about to be 16.
Yeah, he's
Okay,
about to
he'll
be
be
16. That's why it's like 3 years.
So again, family is the dynamic of family, the dynamic of marriage, the dynamic of the issues that families have, and again, I can say this without any type of delay in thought or delay in choice or delay in decision, that when I was presented with a choice to come back to my family, again, if I was not here with them, they wouldn't be who they are, and you all wouldn't be who you are today.
I definitely agree with that.
Because, having a father in the house, and again, mind you, I wasn't a perfect father. You follow me? I wasn't a father who had all the answers, but again, you grew and understand, and you gained wisdom at how to raise your children. Now, as an adult father with adult children, you guide. You don't tell them what to do. You guide, and that I believe when kids can see the struggle of your parents growing up, they can see where you guys came from being. I was telling somebody, man, I got sued so much I got tired of going to court. You know what I mean? You follow me? Whereas you come from places of where your arrogance and your attitude caused life to be what it was, and you think back now like, wow, if I'd have done that different, man, I might still have that old Chevy truck. I was still, but you can't go back.
Mm-hmm.
So moving forward, I believe each child gain knowledge and wisdom, and how they use it now is primarily up to them moving forward.
So I got this like a 4-part question. First question for you, Mom.
Mhm.
What is your job as a wife? What do you think your job is as a wife?
Take care of Big Daddy, number one.
Here you go.
That's
you go.
number
I
one
thought
right
he
there.
said mom.
That's number
Question
one.
for
go.
mom.
I answered the first one.
Here you go.
Big Daddy number one.
You see, he talks a whole lot,
I
right?
see that.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead.
You
Go
talk a
ahead.
whole lot.
All right, go ahead. I'm gonna let you talk.
My first responsibility is to honor God in my family. That's my very first responsibility, is to honor God in my family. And secondly, to honor my husband.
Mhm.
And as I honor him, I am honoring God.
Mhm.
And after that, I am to support, raise, and take care of my children.
Mhm.
And so that's how I look. And I know you said a wife, but if you're a wife and a mother, the role works hand in hand.
Mhm.
You can't be one without the other. You know what I mean? So to be a wife means I need to be present when my husband needs me. I need to be able to. I seen this lady on this on this TikTok, I think, and she was talking about sex, and she was like the theme was he could have it. He can have it. Like anytime he could have it. In the shower, he can have it. When we're mad, he can have it. When I'm cooking, he can have it. When, so I listened to that, and really that is the role of a wife, and not only the role of a wife, but like you said, as a husband too. We're supposed to complement one another and be there to support, uplift, and build. And if he's down, I'm going to feel the same way because we're one. We are one. And that is, like the Bible says, the mystery. And so I remember one time, and this was so amazing to me how effective the oneness of God is. I was laying on his stomach one day, and this only happened to me once. And I literally could hear what he was singing on the inside. He wasn't humming, he wasn't singing out loud. He was just, you know how you will sing a song inside? He was literally singing a song inside. And I said, "Are you singing this?" And he was like, "What?"
What song was he singing? Big Daddy Kane.
Gerald Levert, baby, hold on to me.
No,
See, I'm
I
a
don't
special
remember.
guy.
Oh, it might have been a Stevie Wonder song. I don't remember.
You was a romantic, huh?
Hey,
Okay.
hey, man.
It
All
was,
them
I think
kids,
it was a
hey.
Stevie Wonder song, but I couldn't believe it. That's when I realized what true oneness is. I was so connected to him. I literally could hear what was going on inside of him, and I'm my own self, but we are so connected.
So, to add, over the years of your marriage, you had a few health things that happened that caused you to be more in the house.
A few.
How did you manage, like, shifting from working more outside of the house to coming into the house and working from home and being at home way more than you were before?
Oh my God, that was very, very hard for me to go through so many health challenges. And I think it was because I was always trying to be the provider for the first four and just really overextending myself, trying to be like, you know, what I said, what a woman is not supposed to be. And so when my body finally did break down and say, "You can't do anything anymore," I went through such a depression, you know, because I was used to having my own money. I was used to being able to make sure the bills were paid on time. I didn't have the fears of, are we going to lose this house? Are we going to lose that car? Because I knew as long as I could work, I could pay it. But I couldn't work. I couldn't do anything. I was in bed. I had all these surgeries and back to back, years and years in a row, all these major surgeries back to back. So I went through such a depression. But then I realized, because I was in school, I said, okay, I have to refocus myself, finish school, appreciate where I'm at, and know that this is temporary. And so then COVID hit, everybody was home. So I was already in the flow. And so when I was able to start my therapy business, it just like blew up out the water because COVID made everybody realize I need mental health therapy. And so I was really prepared for it, and I didn't know God was already preparing me.
So let me ask you this. So before I go to him, I see nowadays a lot of women. So backtrack. I believe that God has everything done in order.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's not in God's order, then it's out of order.
Yeah.
So I see that a lot of times women, they typically put their family, their family before their spouse.
True.
The kids or their family?
Their family.
Their mom and sisters and brothers
Yes.
or their children?
Okay. I get it.
Yes,
I
they're
get it.
where biblically it says that's by mind you. Let's get it clear. If you're a believer,
Right.
but to me, even if you are
Right,
a
if
believer,
you're not, right.
that's
right,
morally how
Absolutely.
it's supposed to
Absolutely.
how it's supposed to go.
Absolutely.
So, what is your take is on believing what's first? What comes first?
Well, when you decide to marry, you actually leave your mother, you leave your father, you leave everyone else, and you now have created your own family, and you have to build your own family again. Like I said earlier about watering the grass, you have to now begin to water and build and create your own family traditions. You know, so many times we're so stuck on, we used to do this. Now, okay, fine, that's fine. You did this and he did this. Now, how are you guys going to do it to raise your family? How are you going to blend those two things in together to create a tradition and a culture now for your family? If it takes so much time to build your own family. If you were focusing on that, you wouldn't have time to do all the other stuff.
So switching to you, what do you think your job is as a husband?
Well, being married 36 years now, I fully understand that as a husband, my first job is to love my wife as Christ loved the church and gave himself for it. So I give myself for Cindy. And, that's growing. That's understanding that whatever the need is, whatever she needs, I don't wait, I make the statement all the time when it comes to things. I need to live and have the things that she need to live to have things. So if I need to buy it or she need to buy it, we both need it to survive. So I don't wait for her to do anything. I just do it. You follow me? I don't ask questions. Hey, you need let's go do this. It depends on what it is. So, and then secondly, to support whatever goals she have as a woman, because again, it's my role to care for my surroundings. Where if I passed away, I say it all the time. If I passed away today, ain't no chicken dinners. You ain't got no chicken dinners to bury me. You follow me? And when I leave, the legacy I leave behind for my children is this guy started right here. Now his legacy is he leaves something for his kids that can follow suit on what he left. You follow me? And then thirdly, the protector. Whereas you protect her, you say, Cindy, they got an accident on 94. Stay off 94. You take 23. You follow me? So it comes where you have to move to a point where you're thinking ahead of the game. And I think most men, once you understand that I'm only successful, and where I'm at today, I am successful. Wasn't always successful. Humility and success is how I became successful, meaning I had the big head when I was young. Now my head just small. But success doesn't come to everybody. I ain't say money. I say success. God puts you in front of people to give you favor when you don't have no money. God gives you money when there is no money. He walks you into places. Hey man, I need you. I'm gonna pay you $10,000. Do you know how to do this? No problem, brother. Let me get it for you. That is true success. So as far as a husband to Cindy, whereas we don't always agree on things, but we ain't hooping and hollering and talking. We ain't doing none of that. Oh, honey, don't be like that. You would treat your own father like that?
Here you go. Here you go. I knew it was coming.
You would treat your own father like that?
So
You know what I mean?
So she told me her side of her health events and how it affected her. I want to know, after she had those events, how was the burden on you after? Like, how did you take on the burden of having to manage more things at one time with your wife being in the bed and not being able to do as much in the house?
Thank God for a mother who taught me how to cook, clean, wash, and maintain a home and maintain a person. Thank God for a mother. My mother taught me how to care for myself, and in doing that, I care for myself well, so I knew how to care for Cindy. I didn't cook for her, wash for her. I needed whatever she needed. I was there to do, along with the kids were there. But that was my job. That's my role. And again, what makes a couple successful, really successful, is being there for each other when you need them the most, and having a clear understanding that I need you now if I'm sick, if I'm depressed, if I'm oppressed, whatever it is, but I also need you when I'm feeling fine, when I'm feeling well, when things are going well. That's what makes a whole couple. That's my opinion.
So what? I know both y'all do therapy. What do you guys take on couples going to therapy?
I'm for it, 100. I raise my hand. Lift your hand high.
Here you go. You can do your own father. You can do your own father like that, bro.
You guys are so silly.
I am for that one. I believe so. The culture again. I have to go back to what we was taught. I hear people all the time say, "How you gonna sit on a couch and let somebody that got their own problems tell you about some problems?" And that's not what it's about. If you can't talk, if you don't have a person, I don't care who you talk to. Anybody you talk to could be your therapist. If they're neutral, you can talk to them and share the truth, and they can rebut back to you unbiasedly and truthfully. Anybody can be your therapist if they're going to do those things for you. You follow me? They don't have to be a therapist that you pay. Somebody that's going to talk to you unbiasedly and truthfully and tell you, hey, based on what you said, you're wrong. You see what I'm saying? Based on what you're saying, this is how you make this person feel, and yada, yada, yada. You follow me? And that's just the way I said. I'm for therapy, 1,000%.
Wow, this is your profession.
Yes.
So, what's your take on therapy? You know, because one thing about you, I say most therapists need a therapist.
Every therapist needs a therapist.
True.
So, what is your take on therapy?
I'm her therapist.
You
Just
can do your
like
own
he
father
talks
like
so
that?
much.
You can do your own father like that?
I'm her therapist. So go ahead.
Listen. I wholeheartedly, 100% believe that everybody who intends on being married needs to have premarital therapy because there are so many aspects of a relationship that we don't talk about and that we find out that we really don't agree on. And instead of finding out later, it's no shame in saying, you're really not the one for me. You're not. Because now you have a therapist that knows how to dig. Whereas the first 3 to 5 years, everybody's on their best behavior. Nobody's really showing that other side. Your dad preached a message before, the other me. Nobody really shows that other me.
I'm gonna use that.
And then the other me shows up because the other me has never been healed. The other me has never been dealt with. And what you've been doing was putting your best foot forward. And now you're expecting this other person to validate you, to console you, to do all of these things that they absolutely have nothing to do with your anger, your bitterness, but you're pouring it out on them because you're really angry and bitter at your foundation. And I know we're almost over, but because I got to say this, Jeremiah told me the last time, Mom, you said nothing about me. So this time I'm going to say, Jeremiah, he plays football for Illinois University. He's defensive tackle. And I'm going to talk about Antoine because I'm a football grandmother and a football mom and a football all right, let me start that over. Football mom and a basketball grandmother. He's playing basketball for the Belleville Tigers, and I'm going to be going to all his basketball games and college games and everything because, ultimately, I am a sports mom.
Jeremiah
shout out to Jeremiah.
He has an interesting story on his own. So when he comes back, I'm gonna have him on.
Yes, he
has
does.
An interesting.
Yes, he does.
Road to stardom of his own.
Yes,
we'll have him on.
Yes, shout out to Jeremiah because he even just for Veterans Day they did a whole tape about the veterans and your dad being a veteran, and he talked about how meaningful his relationship is with his dad and how he literally builds his life now and his practices and what he does around the structure your dad has given him. So I definitely agree that not having a father in the house would not have produced the type of children that you guys are. Because as a mom, and even as a mom for you, I'm so super proud of what you're doing. I want to tell you that because I am so super proud. I know you have your challenges. I know things happen in your life, but you still keep pushing. And I'm so proud of you, and I'm proud of all my children and all my grandchildren. And so I take this platform to say I love you guys.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Love
just
you too.
one thing I just want to just say this before we go. You know, if men would begin to mentor other men, and the men that they mentor, the women that don't have men in the home, could trust men to mentor their sons, then I believe that the culture or the group of men like Antoine's age that could be lost in the shuffle could come around. There's a lot of great men programs, mentoring programs out here. I mean, a lot of them. But then when you look, you know, one lady, you know, made a statement that men in the church do not take on young men in the church and begin to mentor them, and that's a fact. But I believe the church as a whole must continue. The church is doing it. Must continue. It must be an aggressive push to educate and teach men how to mentor other men and how to be men. Because again, being a Christian man, that's you and God. And God has put other men here to mentor other men. So it's our responsibility to teach these men, these young men, that's willing to learn, to educate themselves on how to be men.
Okay.
We need more of that. We need more man caves, more peer to peers, more. We need more things like that because these young men today, if you look at them, just look at them.
Mm-hmm.
Just look at it's not the fat. It's not even the clothes. It's not even the clothes that they wear. It's when they open their mouth up, what they say, how they talk. Man, do you got Fruit Loops in your mouth? What you just say, man? You know, how do you talk? Clarity. Can you count? Do you know your times tables?
Mm-hmm.
You can count money, but can you read?
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So I'm a fervent. I believe the Lord is pushing me that way to begin to really dive into mentoring.
So before we get out of here, I got two words that I want just to know you guys' opinion on this. The first word I have divorce. How do y'all feel about divorce?
Man, when I was for it. I was for it when I was before I was a good Christian.
Mm-hmm.
I was for it. I would be, you know, there was a season in our life where whatever happened, and your mother and I did not see eye to eye. Like, you know what? Let's go ahead and go on and go see the man. She said, I ain't going to see nobody. You want to go, you go. And then really, you know, when you are starting over and trying to build a family after you foiled it, you got the problem. I had the problem because I was insecure with, hey, you don't respect me. Who you talking to like that? Don't you I'm a man? You know what I mean? And that resulted in me wanting to escape, want to run. But we came to the point where we said we will never use the D word ever again. Never.
Didn't our hearts just burn?
Did not hurt his mind. So divorce now is not an option.
What about you, Mom?
Well, I'll give it to you in three quick parts. First of all, if you're Christian, I don't believe that you should ever think about divorce because the whole foundation of Christianity is love and forgiveness.
Acting Christian.
Acting Christian. If you're not just a word
the
Christian,
life.
I'm talking a
Living the
word
life.
and indeed
Living the life.
Christian, then the whole concept is love and forgiveness.
Yeah.
We always say, you know, adultery, but it says because of the hardness of your heart above that scripture that you wouldn't forgive. That's why he allowed for divorce. Now, the next thing is if you're in the world and you decide that you want to go your separate ways, then if you can do that amicably, And you could do that and raise the children, which is going to be very, very difficult. It is statistically found out that the adult children are affected even more than the young children when parents divorce. And then for people that are being abused, I
It's
don't
different.
I don't say you have to divorce, but I do say you need to separate and allow that person to get some help so that you're safe and your life isn't safe and your children are safe or whatever. But ultimately, to wrap it all up in a nice bow, I don't believe in divorce, but I would never tell someone that's not for you because I can't make those decisions for you.
You need to have I ain't touch you to have, but a show dedicated to um, marital infidelity.
Well, that's what our podcast is going to be about.
Marital infidelity.
We're gonna get about that in a minute.
I mean, you that right there, marital infidelity is such a big thing when it comes to marriage. It is mind blowing statistically. I don't care what level you're on, what level of life you're on. You can be in poverty and still have infidelity in your marriage. And it's mind blowing because if you look at the history of it, you understand a lot of things where you should just begin to research that and that you should.
Well,
that,
we're going to do that.
well, I'm
We're
just
gonna
saying,
do that.
but I'm saying, and from a generation of
And we'll have
understanding,
you on the show.
from a generation of understanding what infidelity is and how it comes into the relationship. Everybody want to blame the prince of darkness. Oh, the devil made me do it. No, the devil ain't make you do nothing. You did it because you wanted to do it.
Right.
That's just my 2 cents.
Well, the devil put it in front of you and you took the bait.
Yeah, okay.
So
Well, that's just my 2 cents, man.
my last word is legacy. Well, when I say when you think about legacy, what comes to mind?
So my dad's 85 years old, and I use an example that I have when it comes to he sold me his 1997 Ford F-150, probably 10 years ago, and that truck is still sitting in my driveway now, and the truck has value to me because my father gave it to me at one of the worst times in my life when I needed something to drive. My father told me, he says, go ahead and take it, and you pay me as you go. Legacy to me is when it comes to my family, go ahead and take it and pay me as you go. In other words, I'll give you what I have. Go ahead and take it. But as I begin to age, my dad's 85. He doesn't need anything. But as he ages, he's going to need me and my siblings more because mom's gone. You follow me?
Mhm.
So what he gave to me,
Care.
that small thing, when I needed it, spoke volumes to me that says, go ahead and take it and pay me as you go. So my pay as you go is, Dad, you're 85. When you need me, I'm going to give it back to you as you go.
What about you, Mom? Legacy.
Legacy to me means, first of all, living a life that when I am gone, you will always remember Mom always put up the standard of Christ. Mom carried a standard of Christ. Mom not only carried a standard of Christ, but through crisis, through prosperity, through pain, through sickness, Mom always was loving, respectful, and always taught us how to treat other people good and how to always treat people the way you want to be treated. That when you think of me, you will think of, like they have those things, WWJD, what would Jesus do? Not to always say your mind would go back to what would Mom have done, but that my voice would come back to your mind and say, no, don't do that. Or, yeah, you should do that. You should apologize. Because to me, true legacy is being able to leave you Christ, number one, and leave you love, leave you up, being able to be uplifted, encouraged, and then whatever I've amassed in my life, not that you guys are sitting there waiting for it, but that you guys can enjoy the fruits of what I've worked for, and that you guys would be able to appreciate it
Mhm.
and not, because I always say, and then I'll be done, people have worked their very hardest their entire life for this car that they bought to end up in a junkyard. That was their dream. And it ends up in a junkyard because nobody else cares about it like you did.
Mhm.
But I would hope to think that you guys knew my heart, just like you know, we the jewelry people.
Mhm.
Right.
We jewelry people.
For sure.
So I would hope to think whatever a jewelry you amass from me or get from me, that you would at least treasure it.
I like that 8 carat diamond that one that you got.
Huh?
My wife need another ring.
Huh? What'd you say? I didn't hear you. But this is what I'm saying about legacy.
So I know before we get to close, this is a week of Thanksgiving.
Yes.
So I'm gonna take it back to how we used to do back when we was living with Daw. We used to sit around a table and say, everybody say what they're thankful for.
Yeah, we started that at home. I started that on my own family tradition.
I just remember we used to do it when we was at Daw's house.
I brought it to their house.
Okay, let's start with you, Twan. What are you thankful for?
Honestly, I'm thankful for family. I'm thankful for all the mentors that's in my family that showed me different than what was in my head, different than what I could even. Some things just come with age. Like you can't articulate it until you grow a certain age. And one person I give that credit to is sitting right here. You know, he always tells me, "You think you know it all." I'm 55 years old. I'm 45 years old. Like, so yeah, I'm thankful for having mentors that show me more things that I wouldn't otherwise know.
Yeah, I'm thankful that, in all honesty, that God allowed me to come back to my family, and I have reasonable health, strength, and the Lord has given me the desires of my heart. So I'm thankful that my kids and those that surround us, not only my children, but those that surround us, our external family and our village as a whole understands that God is the reason that we all are here. That's it. There is no other reason. There is no point of reference that I should even be here. But God has blessed me to be able to be here. So I'm thankful that the Lord has honored me in that manner.
I am thankful, first of all, like Antoine talked about, that my health is getting better. I don't look like the way I want to. The medication has made my whole body somebody I don't know, but at least I'm getting back to the place that I feel like I'm getting to myself, and then I'll look like myself. That'll come. But I am thankful that I'm able to function. I am thankful that I have a loving husband and loving children and loving grandchildren. That means more to me than anything else at all. You know, outside of God, God is my everything. But to be able to say that I have my children, they haven't been to jail, they're not on drugs, they're not alcoholics. You know, by no means are you guys perfect, but you're not as bad as you could be. And so I am so thankful that God has allowed you guys to even desire to want a relationship with Him. You know, that was like huge for me. Like, outside of anything else, that you guys would know the Lord and do the things that He would be pleased with. And I see my grandchildren following in those same footsteps. So every day I am truly, truly thankful for the family that God has given me and the people that God has surrounded me with.
Okay. So finally, I'm thankful for answered prayers. Y'all know a lot of times I shouldn't be here to this day. I'm thankful for God just showing me that even the prayers I didn't pray, but prayers that others prayed for me, God honored. Even when He loved me when I was unlovable. And I'm just thankful for family. I'm thankful for my family that I'm growing. And I'm thankful for just in the position that I am right now. And on that note, this is the Prodigal Son Podcast. Let's dominate.
Life like them Bible stories. If you ain't die on the cross, you not an idol for me. Strong faith and prayer life, man, that's vital.